All right, how's everybody doing? My name's Mike, and we got Mr. Sam hanging out on place with us today. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do today is show you guys how I get a dog that refuses to go into the crate, how I get them into the crate. Now, dogs come in all shapes and sizes. It is very normal for us to have anxious dogs that don't wanna go in the crate. And the reason for that is when the dog's young, if the owners don't actively use things like the crate, the dog doesn't know what the tool is, doesn't understand what it's for. When we put the dog in here, we want the dog, number one, the dog has to go in on its own. Like, the dog has to walk in there. So whatever way we put the dog in the crate, we cannot physically force the dog to do things because they will not learn. So dog training and our program is all about getting the dog to mentally understand what we want, right? Like, I want the dog like this all the time, right? So what do? I use a place bed. I don't force the dog to lay down. What I do is just create rules. I put the dog on the bed. If the dog tries to get off, I correct them. And that gives them basically no choice but to just hang out and relax. Therefore, place means relax. That's what we want him to do in the crate, which is relax when the owner's gone. Now, this dog makes all kinds of noise, whines a lot. And the reason the dog whines in the crate is because, so when the dog's out, like if the owner's home, the dog's out, typically people are giving affection to the dog when they're out hanging out and when they're out in their home. And then when they're about to leave and go somewhere, they put the dog in the crate. So then the dog starts to learn that, oh wow, the crate is, whenever I go in the crate, that means my owner is leaving. What we want to start doing is desensitizing the dog to things like that. And the way we do that is we put the dog in the crate for other things, right? So the dog goes in the crate anytime I need to just manage the dog and I can't keep an eye on the dog. Anytime I leave the house or go to bed, 15-20 minutes before I leave the house, go to bed, the dog goes in the crate. We don't say anything to the dog once the dog's in the crate. When I come home, 15-20 minutes. When I wake up, 15-20 minutes before I ever deal with this dog. If the dog whines, we correct the dog. We have two different tools that are cheap and easy to make. This is a shake can, so it's a bottle with some pennies in it, and this is just a rolled up towel. We only use this if the dog's in the crate. The dog whines, we just say no, and we just toss that on the crate just like that. And this actually has a huge effect. This will stop 9 times out of 10. This is going to stop all dogs from barking in the crate. It's not just that tool though, it's how you use it and the way in which you behave with your dog in general. So there's a lot of things that I could go on and on about how this affects your dog not doing these things psychologically. But what we're going to go ahead and do is get started so you guys can see what it looks like when we start getting the dog in the crate when they're doing a refusal. So you're going to see it. The dog's done it a couple times, so he knows he's being more compliant getting in there. But at first, the dog would just see the crate. You just walk towards the crate. The dog will just put the brakes on. And the reason it does that is because that works in his home. So in his home, he can physically stop. Remember, a 10-pound dog physically stops somebody who's over 100 pounds, you know. Which is not good, because then the dog believes that it has the power to stop people. But of course, when he's with me, I do not allow the dog to stop me. If I'm walking and the dog stops, I just simply tug as I walk, and the dog will start walking with me. So a lot of it is about the energy you're putting out to the dog and how confident you are in what you're doing. Most people who have dogs are not going to be confident in the moves they make with their dog because they do not understand the language the dog is speaking. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started. So you see here, I have a long leash that I threaded through the crate. So this is how it is every time I walk up to the crate with this dog. If I use this regular leash with this dog and I try to just even lead him in to the crate, and I'll just kind of lead him in like that with my hand, he will just put the brakes on till, even if he has only a ½ an inch, he's going to put his brakes on even if he can just keep 1 foot out. This is how dogs are built. They're dominant. And this is why it does them a disservice to not have rules and train them in the beginning, because the dog learns that they are in control. That's what that means. If your dog refuses to go in the crate, stops going in the crate, like, you can't get the dog in the crate, that means, unfortunately, you don't know how to get the dog in the crate properly. And if you don't, the dog is going to start to dominate you and rule the home. And that's why people call me, is because the dogs, they become unbearable, you know. And right away when this dog went in the crate, hey, right away when I put this dog in the crate, I could see immediately what the owner was talking about, and it's very obvious. And the dog has no attachment to me, you know. First day I put him in the crate and he's whining. That tells me that's an imprinted behavior. He doesn't care if he's next to me. He doesn't even know me, you know. And the first day, like, why would he even care that he's not next to me? It's because the dog has been trained unknowingly by the humans in the home to it's okay to be attached to people and have this unhealthy attachment. You know, we want the dog to learn how to behave on its own and exist on its own without a human. Anything ever happens to you, you have to leave your dog alone or with different people, the dog can't be going nuts and causing problems. You know, that won't fly if for some reason you were to die and your dog's left here on earth. Your dog's gonna get put down if it doesn't behave kind of well, you know. So there's a lot of reasons you would want to do this. And most of it just involves having peace in the home. Like with this dog, every time the owner leaves, the dog is whining uncontrollably. So what I do is I don't let the dog off the place until I release him. Okay, heel, and now he can come here. And then what I do is I take this leash. Anytime you switch a leash on a dog, you never unclasp the first leash. You hook the second leash up like that, then you unclasp this leash. You never have the dog unleashed and give it the opportunity to run around your home. You will never train it that way. So you're gonna see a lot more compliance from him, but because he knows kind of the deal. He knows what I'm gonna do. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the back end of this leash and I'm gonna tug it through when I can't reach anymore to continue him moving. So what we use the word den. That represents what a wolf or a dog would have in the wild, a den. This is the same thing. We want them to look at it as the same thing, as well as the owners. We want the owners to see this as a positive place where the dog goes when you're gone. We also feed the dog in the crate too, so that also gives him a positive reinforcement in the crate. Okay, then, and then I just take this leash. You see how he stops, then, and then you see how I can tug him to get him in there. All right. And then the dog cannot come out of the crate until we say, right? We use this front door to keep the dog in the crate. I'm not trapping the dog, so you see I lead the dog in, and then I just use this door. I use this door to shut it when the dog tries to get out, but when I see his brain change, I leave it open. So that way the dog understands I'm not trapping you, I'm just convincing you to stay in there. And we're using our body and mind, and the dog respects me because I'm very quick. You have to be quick, you have to be on time. Timing is very important with dog training. Okay, heel. So what I'll do is get him just to heel. Good job, buddy. So I'll let him kind of chill for a second. So you'll notice when I lead them in, most dogs will go in when you lead them in. If they stop, you need to thread that leash through the back, and then you can just kind of make it very easy to tug them through. And then I just tug that. Tug, you see it, I can actually make the leash go loose before the dog, so it's not tight the whole time the dog's going in. And you keep working that over and over. You do that with the dog, and then the dog gets very used to coming in and out of the crate in a calm way. This particular owner was picking the dog up and putting the dog in the crate. That's forcing your dog to do something, and you're doing it for them. They are not learning to go to the crate. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you will have owners that will say, yeah, watch this, and they'll say crate, and then the dog will bolt into the crate, and they will smile a little bit and look at me like, you see that? And that's not good. That's not an exceptionally trained dog. Excitement is what we're fighting. We want a calm dog, a dog that looks like this. We don't want a dog that's jumping around, barking, panting, anxious. We want a calm dog, and the way to get that is to train and work with them on a regular basis. So again, we're only a week into training here, and we're getting the dog to go into the crate on his own. He's going to start to look at it as a positive thing. We also are going to be making a video on food with him. He also had no appetite, and that was very typical at the owner's house, and he has a very healthy appetite now. And what that is the rules create a stable dog. So a normal dog, you put food in the crate, they should eat, right? So with him, that wasn't happening. He's more concerned about humans, what the humans are doing, and can he get out? And with enough whining and barking, what usually happens is owners will let the dog out, and that reinforces what they don't want. Also, when you let the dog out, if the dog's excited and you're like, hey, great to see you, you just swing the crate door open and let them out, they learn they are allowed to rush in and out of the crate. And we don't want a dog that's excited. That's when they make mistakes and do things that the owners don't want. So if your dog's having trouble getting in and out of the crate, use a long leash, thread it through, and lead them in.